Let's see what we need to do. Oh, there it is, boys. Yo, what is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Loose over here in Loose Bolts Garage. Just testing things out over here. So if you're watching this, then most likely you have the crazy idea of pulling a 300ZX engine out of the 300ZX. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to get it done. I did kind of want to go over a thorough process of doing it, however, not too involved. What I mean by that is basically I'm going to go over the main steps, the main things that you need to do to remove an engine from the car. We're only removing the engine, we're not removing the transmission, so sorry, I'm not going to go over the transmission process, but we'll just do the engine. If that's something that you're interested in, stick around. One of the things though is that before removing the engine, there are a few steps to do before. I'm gonna keep repeating myself a few times, it's all good. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and drain the oil from it, of course. So remove the oil. You want to relieve the pressure in the fuel system. So there's a video on how to do that. I didn't do it in this video. It's just, you know, there's videos on how to do it. You got to just remove the fuel pump relay and then start the car a couple times. It drains the fuel from the filter and everywhere that it goes, from the pump all the way down and back into the fuel pan. You know, so you want to do that. And you want to remove the wiring harness. I'm not going to go over that either. There's a lot of clips. You just go on, you just kind of go into your engine bay, and everything that you see with the little connector, you just disconnect from the engine. So I'm not going to go over all those details, as well as the vacuum lines. There's plenty of those. I just disconnect them as I see them. But I'm going to go over, again, the main steps. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. I want you guys to go ahead and like, comment, subscribe if you found this of any value to you, you know what I mean? So let's go ahead and get this thing going. All right, so you see my little rig set up here. I'm using ratchet straps just because that's what I had at the time. So ratchet straps will do. I got a few different, they're kind of tied in knots, honestly. So that's what I'm gonna use. You could probably find something better out there than, you know, if you're gonna go shopping for some supplies, get like a toe strap or some really long one or something like that. Again, I just tied these up in knots. They're like 3 different pieces. But going back to the basics on what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna remove the coolant line. So, or not coolant line, sorry. The AC line, hold on, let me find a flashlight here. Not sure where it's at, so we'll skip over that until I found that flashlight. So, all right, where are we at? Okay, so you see this is your fuel pump. Again, these are fuel lines. You're gonna wanna disconnect them and things like that. Wanna label everything. This is fuel 1, and then this is fuel 2. You wanna just kind of label things like that. I got a coil pack over here. It's coil pack 4. It's not necessary to remove coil packs. I did, just to get my straps where I need them to be. You go around the engine crane here. Okay, there's gonna be these airflow lines here. You're gonna wanna go ahead and disconnect these ones. So basically this top one goes up here, this bottom one goes down there. You'll wanna disconnect these lines. They're pretty important. There's soft lines, and then there's these hard ones. These hard ones are removable as well. You just don't have to remove them, or at least I'm not going to. You'll see those hard lines over there too. Back here you'll have this is an AC line. It's connected right there to the engine. You want to go ahead and disconnect that with this bolt right there, and then there's another bolt on that side. I can't remember the size, but once you get into your engine, you'll go ahead and be able to figure that out. There's these coolant lines back here. Can you see that? No, give me 1 second. All right, guys, I got a flashlight here. Okay, so that's your AC line. Another thing that I didn't mention is that you're gonna wanna go ahead and take your car to get the air conditioning refrigerant vacuumed out of the car. So if the car's never been vacuumed out and swapped out. So basically you need a newer refrigerant. It's called R134. Back in the day they used like R132 or 133, somewhere around there. They don't use it anymore. You got to replace it. So in doing so, you want to make sure that, again, one of the preparatory steps in getting your engine pulled out is, if that is the case, then you want to get it vacuumed out either by a dealer or a shop near you. So that's something you may want to have in the back of your head if you need to get that done or not. It's bad for the environment, so you don't want to kind of leave it out there or have it in your garage or anything like that. Going back to what the basics here, air conditioning hose. You got some 2 coolant hoses back here that are going to be attached. I took the hoses out. Actually, one of the hoses was that one and that one, but not the hoses, but the lines. I took the actual hoses out that connect to them. Right now, you'll see that I have plenty of room. It's because I'm already ready to pull this thing out. So you won't have this much room. In the back right here, you could probably see like the clutch right there, barely. Okay. Again, these lines you want to remove. There's going to be a power steering pump right here. If you haven't watched any of my videos, go back to my video. I'll show you how to remove the power steering pump that's connected to this little wire right there, as well as your alternator. You see I'm not rocking an alternator. I removed it from the car. I actually stored it away. I was going to point it out here, but I put it somewhere in storage. These are extra lines here that will, not extra lines, hoses right here. Disconnect those. And then I'm gonna go ahead and show you what to disconnect underneath the car. All right guys, so you're gonna want to disconnect the transmission. These are the bolt order in which they go. So if you can imagine, so it's like this. So if you can imagine the transmissions this way, that's your bottom bolt. This is going to be your left top, left, right, and so on. Those bolts that are just taped on there actually go on the opposite side. So these will be bolted in as you see it this way, and then those 2 bolts opposite side. I think they go to the dust shield. So again, once you have all that disconnected, you know, your transmission's pretty much disconnected. Want to go ahead and have a jack underneath the transmission just to kind of support it a little bit, and we'll get this thing going. Okay guys, one thing that I did as well is that there's a bolt right there. So right now, again, the transmission's already disconnected, but there's a bolt right, I'm not sure how well you can tell. Right here, where that light is flashing. Yeah, to the farthest side right there. Perfect. Okay, that bolt was extremely hard to reach because of, on the driver's side, you have a power steering rack. It's not all easy to reach that one as it is on the right side. What I actually had to do is I actually removed my downpipe. You see there's a turbo right there without the downpipe. I actually removed it from this side. And from underneath the car, I actually hugged the transmission, reached my arm around the transmission on this side, just to get to that bolt, that little corner area right there. That's one little trick I use if you have certain tools and things like that. Maybe you're able to get to it. I don't. I use my hugging technique. So I'm a hugger. That's just the way it is. So let's go ahead and get this thing in the air. All right, you see your tension rod is right there. Your steering column is going to be right there. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and disconnect it. I'm using a 1/2 inch. And basically you want to, I already loosened it up just for kicks. And then I could just go ahead and loosen this up right here. And keep spinning that, and that's going to disconnect your steering column. Make sure you take note, your steering column will come with the bolt and a washer. You're going to want to go ahead and remove the, or not remove, sorry, loosen up the bolt down here. Let me remove this. You're going to want to loosen up this bolt on both sides. I'm using a 11/16 to do that. I also have a wrench on the other end, as it does have a nut on the other end that you're gonna have to hold still. So go ahead and loosen those bolts. Clearly I can't do this with one hand, so I'm gonna go ahead and go do that. You're gonna wanna remove your tension rod fixing bolts. They're right underneath the rotor. That's your tension rod right there. A breaker bar is highly suggested. I got mine here. And this one is a 11/16, I believe. One moment. Yeah, 11/16. So you're gonna want to remove this bolt, and you're gonna need to remove these other two bolts. There's one right there. There's another one right here. Once you do that, you want to go ahead and place a jack underneath your subframe. You're gonna have to hold it up in place while you remove the bolts on the side of the subframe off. There's gonna be 4 bolts, 2 on each side. And once you loosen those, that subframe will start coming down. All right, using an 11/16, you're gonna wanna go ahead and remove the bolts holding the subframe on. Doing this a little left-handed here. Alright guys, to give you some perspective, I'm under the driver's side wheel. There you see a tie rod. Okay, so that bottom bolt that connects to the control arm, keep in mind you just want to loosen that. You don't want to remove it completely. Just loosen it, that'll be fine. And then this other nut, it secures your subframe onto the chassis. You want to remove that. There's another one on the other side, and we'll get to that in a second. Again, remove the nut, do not loosen or remove the bolts from the control arm. Alright, so this is the passenger side. In the last clip we did the driver's side. I just wanted to give you perspective on what the front and back look like and try to give you an idea on both sides. You're going to want to go ahead and remove this nut right there. You can see in that other area right there, that's where your engine mount would mount into. I actually try to pull it with this still attached, so that's why it kind of shifted a little bit, but it's not needed. Do not do that. Just loosen these up and your subframe should be good to go. Alright guys, so if we did everything right, we should see this subframe lower. There it is. You can see how that pulley came down a little bit. You don't have to lower it drastically, just enough to get this engine out. Subframe is extremely heavy and hard to deal with when you're trying to put under a car, so you don't want to completely remove it. Just lower it, have it in one spot, you're good to go. Alright, so I had a little hiccup pulling out the engine out of the car. You see this oil line was still connected. No biggie. I was able to disconnect it while I had the engine in the air. They're held together by these clips here. Just be aware, because once you disconnect them, they will leak oil. So make sure you have a drip pan ready. So you see, I was able to kind of curl the hoses to the top. I got them stuck in a place where they're not just going to leak oil everywhere. It wasn't a whole lot of oil. Again, it's just enough to make sure it makes a mess. So just make sure you be aware of that, and we're ready to go. After action report here. So in the process of pulling out the engine, I think that this happened. Let me get a little light here. I think that the transmission spline got stuck right there. You can tell, right? There's some grounded down metal there, as well as this tooth, as well as a little bit right there. I'm not sure why the transmission spline was still stuck in the engine. If you guys do, let me know. For the most part, mostly everything was planned on getting replaced. So, you know, just take note of that. Get the better judgment if this is something you're doing and you're worried about how your clutch is going to end up. Definitely do the additional research on why that spline was not out of the transmission. I believe the car was in neutral. Let me double check. Yeah, it looks like the car was in neutral. Let me see here. So that happened. This is what the spline looks like. Got some red scrapes up here from the clutch. Looks like it hit that a bit. But that's the after action report, guys. So again, not sure why the spline was stuck inside the engine, but you know, keep that in mind if you are pulling the engine. Watch out for that. I didn't know, this is my first time pulling the engine, so I'm no expert. If you guys know, let me know. That way I won't ever do it again. But if you don't let me know, then I can't get better. Alright guys, so that is it. That's how easy it is to pull your engine out of your 300ZX. I know I didn't go into an intricate detail of removing all the vacuum lines, connectors, etc., or even unbolting the transmission. I mean, they're bolts, guys, or clips, or vacuum lines, right? You want to make sure they're disconnected. So go ahead and like, comment, subscribe for me. In the next video shortly to follow this one, I'm going to go ahead and upload how to go ahead and mount your engine onto your engine stand. So stay tuned to that. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. And quick tip for you, don't boost the car or don't jack it up as high as possible. Reason for that is you get more clearance when it's a little lower to the ground, and it makes it a little easier to get that engine pulled. You could understand if you had a really high mounted car, it takes much more clearance to get that engine out of the car. So if you stick around for that long, you get that pro tip. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.